What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Canadian Heritage Minutes, which are these great 1 minute long videos that teach you about important events and people throughout all of Canadian history. And today, I am continuing my journey watching all of the Canadian Heritage Minutes. I've currently watched 33 out of 100. I am exactly 1/3 of the way done watching the Heritage Minutes, so we have quite a few more to get through, and today I want to take a look at 3 more Heritage Minutes, starting with the Winnipeg Falcons. This is either about birds flying over Winnipeg gracefully, or this is sounds like a sports team. A team of Icelandic Canadians. Icelandic Canadians? You don't hear that very often. I've actually never heard of that. What is it, like Canadians that come from Iceland? Really? That's interesting. Anyway, they're serving in the First World War before bringing home the very first gold medal in Olympic hockey. This is about the very first Olympic gold medal in hockey that Canada ever won. And it was with a team of Icelandic Canadians. That's so random to me as well. That's fascinating. Is there any more information on this? The Winnipeg Falcons was a hockey team, early 20th century, that was made up almost solely of players of Icelandic heritage. So these are Canadians that were like living in Canada. They just all happen to have Icelandic ancestry? That makes sense. Okay, why exactly was that? Like, were Icelandic people like great at hockey? Like before Canadians like became known for hockey? Or I'm trying to find the connection. Why was the team all of Icelandic heritage? Were they just like great at hockey? What other reason do you need? They're just good at hockey. Winnipeg Falcons Hockey Club, 1920 gold medals. It's a hockey club. It's funny because when I think of like a club, that sounds like recreational. Like the Winnipeg Falcons are just some local club that, whatever, we'll just go win the Olympics for Canada. I'm assuming that they were actually, like, were they semi-professional or a professional team? The Falcons won Canada's first ever Olympic medal in hockey. Wow. Is there anything else here that kind of explains the background to me? Canadian Olympic Hall of Fame recognizes the Falcons as the first Canadians to win Olympic gold in the sport. That is so freaking huge for Canada as well. Like, such a historic part of Canadian culture, like being good at hockey, you know, and this is kind of the beginning of it. There is a little bit on the creation of the Falcons. Wow. The Falcons Hockey Club was an amalgamation. I know words. Amalgamation of 2 rival Manitoba teams made up of players of Icelandic heritage, players who loved their sport but were discriminated against because of their immigrant background and were not allowed to participate in the mainstream leagues of the Winnipeg region. That's why they're not like in like a league. It's like a club. The Falcons Hockey Club. They were discriminated against, which is of course horrible to hear about, but that makes this story even more incredible, actually. And something tells me they were not as discriminated against upon returning home as literal Olympic hockey champions. But with that being said, let's take a look at the Heritage Minute here. Belgium. Oh wow, 1920.
Wasn't easy growing up on Sargent Avenue,
Bunch of Icelandic boys, nobody wanted around.
but hockey was good to us.
We're signing up then, George. Only if Connie here joins up with us.
And the war came along.
What? Like, this is exactly what I mean. The way they're talking here is like, yeah, we're just the Falcons Hockey Club. Like, you know, we get together and practice 3 times a week. Let's sign up for the Olympics, boys. Why not? And then they're just like the Olympic champions? What the heck? That's actually an awesome story if it kind of went like that. And the fact that they were underdogs, they were discriminated against, and overcame all that to become champions. This is a good story, actually.
Long.
And then they're saying the World War came along.
Broke up the team.
Wow.
But we were needed, and we went. It cost us. Too much, maybe. I don't know.
So, oh my God. So the members of the hockey team had to serve in the Canadian military, I assume? Not like the Icelandic military. These are Canadians. They're just of our Icelandic heritage. That's what I'm trying to get clear in my mind. And did they serve in the war before becoming hockey champions? If so, that's like, either way, that's pretty incredible. But they just like go out, like fight a war, come back, knock out a hockey gold medal real quick, then get home in time for dinner.
But I do know one thing. We still got some fight left in us, right, boys?
Wow.
It's the game we've been saving it for. For us. For Canada. For the boys of Sergeant Avenue.
Wow.
The Winnipeg Falcons served Canada in the First World War.
Yeah.
2 teammates never made it home. The rest went on to win the very first gold medal in Olympic hockey.
Wow, that's sad. Wow, that gives you goosebumps a little bit there. That's a great story. Oh my God. I do really enjoy these Heritage Minutes because they talk about such obscure sort of parts of history that I would definitely never learn anywhere else, that's for sure. So they did fight in the World War first. 2 of their teammates actually died serving in the Canadian military during the World War. Then they got the opportunity to win a hockey Olympic gold medal for Canada. That's an insane story. That's actually insane, like in the best way possible. That's a great story. What the heck? Inspiring. Wow, that definitely deserves a Heritage Minute. I totally get it. Let's keep going. Okay. Wow. Underground Railroad. Oh, Underground Railroad. Like, we had this in the United States. Oh, yeah, enslaved African Americans escaped to freedom in Canada. They did. I didn't know that. In our American history classes, we learn about, the best parts of American history and the worst parts of American history. This is kind of somewhere in between because obviously, history of slavery in America is horrible, terrible, and appropriate that we learn about it and acknowledge it. And this was one of sort of the shining moments during that part of American history, the Underground Railroad, where people were trying to help transport slaves in this secret, what they called Underground Railroad, hiding them and helping transport them in secret at nighttime under the cover of darkness, and trying to get slaves somewhere where they could be free and safe, which was not easy at the time. I just didn't know that included into Canada. Maybe we are taught that in American history. It's just been so long at this point. I never remembered thinking like that American slaves were being led into Canada. I guess it kind of depends on where you are as a slave in the United States. You certainly could make your way to Canada. That's amazing. I've never thought about it like that. Is there any more information on this Underground Railroad? It was a secret network of abolitionists, people who wanted to abolish slavery, helped African Americans escape enslavement in the American South. Yeah, it was in the American South, so it's like, no matter what, it's a long journey to Canada from the American South. Holy cow. So helping transport them to free northern states. That's what I remember learning. Underground Railroad transporting slaves to northern states so that they could get their freedom. But I guess also to Canada. I really didn't remember that. That's great that this is acknowledging that, because that's incredible. The Underground Railroad was the largest anti-slavery freedom movement in North America. Yep. Brought between 300 to 400,000 fugitives to British North America, now Canada. Wow. Oh, this is a very good one. Very important topic here. Let's take a look.
Pa should have been here by now. He's 3 hours late already.
Oh, wow.
Pa ain't gonna make it! One of them slave catchers got him. Something must have happened. I just know I...
Oh, this is interesting. Wow, this is intense. This is like showing from a slave's point of view, like risking their life, trying to use this network, this underground railroad. She's waiting for, I don't know, her husband or her father, or I'm not sure, to show up at this house, and she's rightfully assuming the worst has happened. This is just fascinating and terrifying, seeing this from her point of view. But I think this is a really great approach to this Heritage Minute. I like this.
Isa, you both made it past the border yesterday. We've all done this before.
He's our pa. He'll be here.
Come.
Okay, so they're waiting for their dad. They're currently in Canada, waiting for their dad to show up, and they have no idea if he will or won't.
Let's pray. No more praying.
Whoa! What are you doing? What's going on? I think she's just like any of us would put in this. If we were in this situation, this impossible to relate to, impossible to understand situation, like you can very much well darn bet that any of us would act this way, just be like hysterical, like, what is life? Like, this is pretty terrifying to see. But I can tell by this woman's smile that I think that their dad has shown up at the perfect moment, as she was getting a little hysterical, understandably so.
Between 1840 and 1860, more than 30,000 American slaves came secretly to Canada and freedom.
Wow.
They called it the Underground Railroad.
What? What was that? Wait, where's Pa? Where's Dad? What is this? This was just a wagon? I thought we were gonna have like a happy ending, seeing like their dad show up in Canada. What is this? It's a wagon with like chairs? I'm not sure what that means. Are these like bad guys, perhaps? I'm a little confused. Let's keep going. Oh! Oh, it's a happy ending. Oh, okay. Oh, he's inside of the chair. Oh, I was fooled, you know? That's great. No wonder he made it all the way to Canada. I wouldn't have freaking been suspecting a chair, like a bench. That's really smart. Holy crap. Okay, very good. Oh.
Railroad.
It's not a chair delivery. Ah! It's a dad delivery. Wow. Wow, that's beautiful. They're in Canada, they're free. That's amazing. So, wow, there's got to be people like in Canada to this day who are the descendants of these people who escaped and got their freedom in Canada. That's pretty special to think about as well. Again, the whole concept of this and slavery is, of course, terrifying and horrible, but nice to see that story and kind of learn about maybe that one of few shining lights during that time period. And they were brought to Canada. Again, I did not know that about the Underground Railroad. And we learn about the Underground Railroad a bit. That's great. I'm really, really happy to learn about that one. That's an important distinction, that Canada played a role in that. That's great. All right, nice. Let's see. One more here called Rural Teacher. Rural Teacher. Robert Harris's famous painting is brought to life as a Prince Edward Island teacher confronts her school board. What? I am a little confused. I don't understand. Robert Harris's famous painting. I'm not sure who Robert Harris is, but he has a painting. So the painting is brought to life as a Prince Edward Island teacher confronts her school board. Is this like a painting of this moment? Of the teacher confronting the school board? Confronting them about what? Is there any more info on this? I'm still a little confused. Until the second half of the 19th century, most rural teachers in Canada were young, female, poorly paid, held the most limited professional qualifications. These teachers delivered rudimentary education to thousands of Canada's rural children in difficult conditions. Okay, so these are teachers who were not necessarily qualified, usually young, female, and badly paid, and it was their responsibility to teach Canadian children until the 1960s. Why was this necessary? Where was this? They frequently taught various ages, wide-ranging abilities of children in one-room schoolhouses, sheltering the burden of maintaining the schools themselves. So these rural teachers were very important, taking on a lot of responsibility they weren't necessarily equipped to handle. And this is a video about a rural teacher from Prince Edward Island confronting her school board. I'm trying to set this up so that I understand. I think I get it. And all of this was depicted in a Robert Harris painting. Is that about right? Maybe? Is that sort of right? Let's see here.
Children.
There's
You
the
must
children.
understand, young woman, that you work for us and not the other way round.
But you would like to tell me how I must go about teaching the children to read.
I've told you what it is we want you to do, and that's enough.
Please.
So she's arguing with the school board. I'm shocked there's a school board, given the information that we have been presented with. This ramshackle one-room school. The rural teachers have to basically do everything themselves. They're terribly paid. And then they got to answer to some school board or something? Jeez. The logistics, the corporatization and logistics and the boards just never end, not even in the 1960s, apparently.
Mr. Clarence, would you take a look at this?
You'll not bother me with that.
But you see, sir, your son read this today. It is quite a difficult passage. It is from the Bible. This is what I use to teach him to read.
Ah, very good, appealing to his sensibilities. So she's responsible for teaching his son. You'd think that he'd have a little more respect for the teacher if that were the case.
Ah, Mr. Clarence, why don't you just read it then?
Okay. Read it.
Both of you know I cannot read a word.
Oh, the truth come out. The truth cometh out. This is making me poetic, seeing this. He can't read, and he's having the gall to criticize this teacher who is teaching his own son how to read tough Bible verses. How hypocritical.
Throughout most of our history, millions of Canadians have owed their education to young women who taught.
Ah, and it all comes together. This is the painting they were talking about. This teacher, Prince Edward Island, having a talk with the school board over whether she's doing a good job at teaching. So really, this Heritage Minute is an acknowledgement of not just her, but all rural teachers in Canada who took up the burden of teaching in really bad conditions, like horrible conditions. The responsibility of teaching a huge part of this generation of Canadians. That's very special. That's very cool. I think I completely understand this now.
To young women who taught in one-room schoolhouses, much like this one.
Yeah. Wow. Rural teachers. And it's kind of remembered in this painting as well as like all rural teachers being a part of Canadian history. Okay, that's really interesting. I had no idea. What was the reason for this situation? Like 1960s, is there a teacher shortage? Like why the rural teachers? Anyway, I don't think we're actually going to get into that. It's just something I was thinking about. But anyway, I thought today's Heritage Minutes were really, really, really fascinating. Really interesting. these are like pretty dense, like history lessons, but I find myself absolutely like fascinated by this. Really interesting stories that are so specific to Canadian history. I've never heard of these ever before, obviously, but again, I don't feel like I'd learn these any other way. So I am thankful for the Heritage Minutes. They're awesome. I enjoyed this. I did. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on today's Heritage Minutes. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture and learning things about Canada for the first time, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.